Yeah, so Jake Tapper's been able to make quite a bit of money selling this book, Original Sin, which doesn't name any names. It's got all these anonymous sources, and it's really just running cover for the people who ran the cover up. That's what this is all about, including covering up people's butts in the media whose sole job it was to try to get to the truth about the Biden presidency. Not only did they ignore the truth and help cover it up, but they actually attacked people like me, people like you, who used their own eyes to see exactly what was obvious right in front of them. But we've been a little hard on Jake Tapper as his book has rolled out. In fact, I've been rather ruthless about Jake, and it's not fair. It's not fair to Alex Thompson, his co-author, because he deserves to be beat up on too. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Here's Alex Thompson, Sunday, Fox News Sunday with Shannon Bream. Alex Thompson goes on Fox News, knowing who's watching Fox News and knowing that he wants to sell books to the people watching Fox News. And so he says this.
Well, and it did seem like there's so many people who you would have thought would have access to him who didn't, because of this inner circle that really much managed his schedule and his time and his access in a way that didn't give a lot of people, one-on-one time with him. In the book, you quote a longtime Biden aide basically admitting he shouldn't be running again. They said to you on page 85, he just had to win and then he could disappear for 4 years. He'd only have to show proof of life every once in a while. His aides could pick up the slack. Who would have been running the White House in a second Biden term?
Well, this person went on to say that when you're voting for a president, you're voting for the aides around him. But these aides were not even Senate confirmed aides. These are White House aides. These were unelected people. And one of the things that really, I think, comes out in our reporting here is that if you believe, and I think a lot of these people do sincerely believe that Donald Trump was and is an existential threat to democracy, you can rationalize anything, including sometimes doing undemocratic things, which I think is what this person is talking about.
Yeah, in fact, they go on to say in the book that they are willing to do undemocratic things to save the democracy. They're willing to do undemocratic things because Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Think that logic through for a minute. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, and to save democracy, we have to do undemocratic things. And that's how the Democrats rationalized it. It's how they continue to rationalize it, by the way. In the book, Alex Thompson and Jake Tapper, they refer to what the people in the White House called a Politburo, which is a fascinating word to use considering it goes back to the Soviet communist days. The Politburo is a small group of people who made the decisions in the Biden White House, and no one knows who they are. We can speculate, we can guess, but we didn't vote for them. We didn't elect them, despite what that anonymous source told Alex Thompson, that people don't really vote for a president. They vote for the team, the aides, the people around them. No, actually, people vote for a president. That's how these things work. We don't live in a parliamentary system where you just vote for the party and whoever the party leader happens to be ends up being the prime minister. There's a reason why we didn't have a system like that, and our founders were very smart in setting it up that way. Now, more on Alex Thompson in just a second, but one thing he just said there is obviously true. To stop Donald Trump, Democrats will do anything. They have, in fact, defined their entire party for the last 10 years to be about one thing. What does your party stand for? Stopping Donald Trump, opposing Donald Trump, lying and cheating if necessary to stop Donald Trump. But of course, because Donald Trump is the duly elected president now and then, when they're stopping him, what they're really doing is stopping you. Now, here's one of the shining stars of that party, Jasmine Crockett, saying the quiet part out loud.
President Trump did yesterday, giving the commencement address at West Point. Besides congratulating the graduating cadets, they got to hear the president veer off into his usual grievances and political attacks. Let's take a listen.
I went through more investigations than Alphonse Capone, and now I'm talking to you as president. Can you believe this? I must tell you, a lot of trophy wives. Doesn't work out. They subjected the armed forces to all manner of social projects and political causes while leaving our borders undefended and depleting our arsenals to fight other countries' wars. The job of the U.S. Armed Forces is not to host drag shows. We will not have men playing in women's sports, if that's okay.
So look, we are all used to Trump making campaign-style diatribes in, inappropriate settings. But what is your response to him doing it at West Point?
Listen, you say we're all used to it. No, I am tired of it, Alex.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I'm right there with
he
you.
literally sounds like someone who is broken out of the insane asylum. Like, he just be all over the place. Like, get him some ADHD medicine, if nothing else, because I don't know where he's ever going to go. And I don't think that those that have gone through West Point expected to have their commander-in-chief address them and start talking about trophy wives or start talking about how he had so many investigations. What a great reminder that you are not qualified to be the person that potentially will command us as troops to go into war. Like, that is not instilling confidence whatsoever. And honestly, our troops deserve better. Our graduates deserve better. We as a country deserve better. And frankly, if we are going to ever be seen as the world leaders that we historically have been, the world deserves better. It is time for Republicans to start calling him out and start questioning his mental acuity and whether or not he is equipped to serve mentally. We know when it comes down to his criminality, he is not qualified to serve. But
there you go. We need to start calling out whether Donald Trump is capable of serving due to his mental acuity. This is the playbook, because they still only stand for one thing, and that's stopping Donald Trump. And they have the audacity to stand up there and now claim that they're concerned about a president having the proper mental acuity. And she took it one step further. You know, there's an election coming up next year, the midterm elections in 2026. It'll determine who has the majority in the House of Representatives. Republicans at the moment, I believe, have a 6-seat majority. And should Democrats win, well, what will that look like for the final 2 years of the Trump presidency? Jasmine Crockett, your next Speaker of the House, explains exactly what she plans to do.
If the Democrats take over after the midterms next year, the House and or Senate, do you think they're going to push for investigations into Trump's family and the whole crypto acquisitions that he is getting?
Well, Alex, I'm glad you asked.
Oh, here we go.
Listen, so long as we end up taking the House, which I fully anticipate that we will do, and we are going to work hard to obviously help our Senate colleagues as well, then as someone who serves on the Oversight Committee and hopes to lead the Oversight Committee, I can guarantee you that we will do what we are supposed to do as constitutionally sworn members of the House, which means that we will conduct oversight. That means that we will investigate. We will look at whether or not this president himself has violated the emoluments clause as it relates to, say, such things as getting a $400 million plane from the Qataris. We also will make sure that we're looking into all these business deals that they have going on. I mean, think about it this way, Alex, they were going after Hunter because he sat on a board. Think about how much money they are raking in, whether we're talking about the next golf resort that they're setting up in Qatar, or whether we're talking about them leveling Gaza, as they've talked about how it would be great beachfront property, whether we're talking about this crypto scam, the scam that people didn't even want to walk into and show their faces. Let me tell you, there is no shortage of things for us to dig into and determine whether or not there have been not only violations of the law, but definitely violations of our Constitution as a whole.
Did you make a little news here? Didn't you say you hope to lead that committee?
I absolutely do. Unfortunately, we are going to lay our dear colleague, Jerry Conley, to rest here on Tuesday. And there will have to be an election to determine who is going to lead the Oversight Committee. And ultimately, I am hoping and praying that my colleagues see that I can provide what we need as a team to make sure that we can move forward and instill some confidence in the American people by knowing that they have a real fighter who will not back down, even in the face of all the threats that I will have waged at me. Because Lord knows I get death threats every single day. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that God will never leave my side. And so I will fight fearlessly and ferociously for the American people.
Okay, so obviously, no, she's not going to be Speaker of the House. I was being tongue in cheek. No, it's better. She wants to be the chairman of the House Oversight Committee and lead all of those investigations. You see how excited she got and how jiggy she got when she was even thinking about investigating Donald Trump? The second they get the majority in the House of Representatives, that's all we're going to have is investigation after fake investigation after fake investigation after fake investigation of Donald Trump. It's not just not working with him legislatively. No. We'll have impeachments again. They'll try to invoke the 25th Amendment, claiming that he's not mentally fit, ironically, considering they had never heard of the 25th Amendment during our last presidency, where their guy had mashed potatoes for brains. She got so excited about this investigation into the big jumbo jet from Qatar that is being given to Donald Trump when it actually is being given to the United States military to use as a replacement for Air Force One. And in fact, those negotiations were underway during the Biden administration. But never mind that, it requires an investigation. After all, they investigated Hunter Biden for being on a board, which is actually not at all what Hunter Biden was being investigated for, but it doesn't matter. This is what they stand for. She was so excited she could barely get her eyelash on properly when it was time to come on MSNBC and get everyone pumped up about the investigations. And yeah, Jerry Connolly, longtime congressman from Northern Virginia, who was the ranking member for the Democrats on the Oversight Committee, he passed away last week. And one wonders if maybe there should be an in-depth investigation into the crime scene. I mean, the death scene, to see if maybe someone left an eyelash behind after they maybe smothered him with a pillow. I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying maybe you should investigate, considering how excited she now is that she has a fast track to that gavel. That's weird. That's gross. That's Jasmine Crockett, the Democrats. Oh, one other thing about Jasmine Crockett. Did she just say that Republicans need to really challenge whether Donald Trump has the mental acuity to be president of the United States? Is she challenging whether Donald Trump should be president based on his mental acuity? Because this person, who I believe is Jasmine Crockett, yep, that's her, just a few weeks ago had this to say about Joe Biden's mental capacity.
Implication being those people think he has made mistakes.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you this. People tried to talk about the mental acuity of Joe Biden, and as someone who was able to interact with him, I never questioned his mental acuity. But come on now, come on.
As someone who worked close with Joe Biden, I never questioned his mental acuity. Joe Biden was perfectly fine. Donald Trump has to be removed from office. Republicans should patch together every single Jasmine Crockett appearance, especially the one where she lists all the investigations that she's so excited about, and they should run that in every single swing district between now and Election Day 2026 to let the American people know exactly what will happen if they are foolish enough to let Democrats have the majority. Back to the Biden White House. As has been revealed in Alex Thompson and Jake Tapper's book, there was this Politburo, right? These advisors, because when you elect a president, you elect their aides, not the president. Says who? Well, says one of those aides, like this person, who was rumored to be one of those people in the Politburo, one of those people who had access to the autopen and could use that autopen for anything: executive orders, signing legislation, granting pardons. The Biden team, what's left of them, and the people who worked in the Biden White House have never been called into question about who had access to the autopen, what kind of protocols and provisions they had to protect the autopen. Is there any chance that someone could go in and get the autopen and use it for their own reasons? Like, for instance, selling a pardon, right? A pardon is a pretty valuable thing. Lobbyists come in and try to buy pardons all the time by making a donation to a president's library, or maybe to a president's special cause, or maybe hiring the president to give a special speech for a couple $100,000 in exchange for a pardon. These things happen. Just ask Bill Clinton and all the money that flows into the Clinton Global Initiative. So, were there any provisions keeping someone like this person? Her name is Anita Dunn, by the way, from perhaps making money in exchange for using the autopen for a pardon. Again, I'm speaking hypothetically, but let's just play this out for a second. Could Anita Dunn, who worked in the Biden White House, who has been named as one of these people who helped form policy in the absence of a functioning president, could she have been making money, let's say, for law firms on K Street in exchange for pardons? Well, of course she couldn't, because if you're an employee of the federal government, you're not allowed to have connections to K Street law firms or lobbying firms or any kind of investment, frankly. You're not allowed. You need to divest yourself and quit all of those jobs if you're going to take a job in the White House. So there's no reason that Anita Dunn would have any sort of conflict of interest. See, but here's the thing about Anita Dunn. Funny. She never actually became a legitimate, full employee of the executive branch of the federal government during the entire 4 years that she was an advisor to Joe Biden. She maintained the status of special government employee. Now, it means that you can only stay employed for, I think, about 120 days, just like Elon Musk. Elon Musk started working on the first day of the presidency, and I think this week he hits his 120th day, and he's got to rotate out of his role with Doge. Now, he, like Anita Dunn, can come back, I believe, in another 120 days. Not sure what the rules are, but you can just keep rotating in as a special government employee. And if you do that, you never have to quit your day job. You never have to divest from whatever income stream you have. And in Anita Dunn's case, well, since she used to work for the Obama administration and during her time with the Biden administration, she has worked in Washington, D.C. for law firms, for lobbyists, for whoever will pay her. And that entire time she was at the Biden White House working closely with the president, who, as we've now learned, wasn't really in charge. She maintained all of those streams of income. Did she have access to the autopen? We don't know. I sure hope somebody's asking, like the Justice Department or like Congress, or maybe Alex Thompson and Jake Tapper. They should write a book about it, don't you know? Oh, and back to Alex Thompson, because when he was on Fox News, he told the Fox News audience exactly what they wanted to hear about Joe Biden. The Democrats will just do anything, no matter how corrupt, no matter the cheat, no matter the lie, they'll do anything to stop Donald Trump. And I reveal it in my book. Buy my book. But it's funny, Alex Thompson says something very different when he's on MSNBC, because he wants the MSNBC audience to buy his book too.
Here we are again with now the oldest occupant of the White House. If you take the lessons learned from the book, both about where the country is on having elder presidents, and more importantly, where the media is there a double standard in which, in a way, the way the media covered Joe Biden's health versus Donald Trump's health during the campaign? And certainly now, is there a double standard with the way we are covering it? I mean, are you out there also investigating and reporting about Trump's health in the same rigor that you did this book?
I'm so glad you asked this question, because while we didn't know that much about Joe Biden's health, we know even less about Donald Trump's health. He was completely untransparent during the 2023-2024 campaign. He has not been transparent since, and there is no mechanism forcing him or any future president to being transparent about their health. He could be on anything. We really have no idea. So I think it's like a really vital question. I will say that in 2023, I wrote an entire piece about how Donald Trump had not been transparent about any of his health. The last month or two, I admittedly have been busy with this book, so I have not returned to the subject. But I think it's completely fair. Donald Trump was older on his inauguration day than Joe Biden was on his. Donald Trump's health is completely fair game, and there should be incredibly investigative reporting onto how it's affecting his job as president.
Well, even if he's not releasing his records, we can all see with our eyes and hear with our ears what he sounds like much of the time just as an example, his remarks at West Point, which rambled all over the place and talked about yachts and trophy wives and everything else.
Wow. We can all see with our eyes and hear with our ears what Trump is like, but none of those eyes and ears were working during Joe Biden's presidency, because apparently Joe Biden never rambled. I mean, when he gave his speech to a graduating class of one of the military academies, the Air Force Academy, if I remember right, he ended up flat on his face on the stage and then blamed it on a sandbag. But there's Alex Thompson for you, telling you what this book is really all about, what the real point of it is. Trump's health. After all, look how old he is, even though the problem with Joe Biden never, ever had anything to do with his age. It had to do with his mashed potato brains. But yeah, there's Alex Thompson on MSNBC telling you, buy my book so you can have a weapon against Donald Trump. Not Joe Biden, Donald Trump. You really can't hate these people enough.